Be recording all of my lectures, and they will be posted in a centralized place for you guys to watch them or whatever. So I'll get back to how the class is actually going to go from here on out. So I'll just introduce myself first. So my name is Marco. I will be one of your instructors. There's another instructor, and she will be here tomorrow. So we're going to do like alternating days, all right? So my name is Marco. I graduated from Full Stack in April of 2018, and right now I'm employed as a front-end software engineer at New York Life, who's a life insurance company, and I've been there for like a year now. And yeah, before that I was doing like construction and things, so this was like a complete 180 for my career, you know? So yeah, that's about me. So yeah, this is the Wi-Fi and the password, and today's class is going to be very introductory, okay? We're going to talk about the structure of the actual class that we're going to be going through, things you'll be using, and then towards the end, I'm going to give a small lecture on tidy and neatness of code, and then you guys will break up into pairs, and you'll do a workshop that won't take very long, and then after you and your partner are done with the workshop, you can go home. Today's easy. Tomorrow, things are difficult. But today, things are easy, okay? It's more for like questions about the actual process. All right? So, present. Okay, so welcome to Bootcamp Prep, right? So, this course is going to go through a lot of topics, and we're going to do a topic a day, right? So today's introduction and tidy code, right? We will go through things, we'll go through looping, coercion and truth in scope, arrays 1, arrays 2, objects, and so on and so forth, ending with recursion 2, and then the last day you will have we'll talk about next steps, and we'll do, you guys can like bring in like beer and stuff, and you guys are gonna have to take a test, and then we'll talk about, you know, what's gonna go on next, all right? So this is the general, like, what's it called, like schematic of the cohort, all right? So the format you will be, so this is kind of what you yourself are required to do, some things. So like the first thing, watch the pre-recorded lecture, if time permits. Before every class, there will be available to you a pre-recorded lecture, right? It's not required that you watch it, but I really highly recommend it. If you want to get the most out of this course, you know, I would definitely highly recommend you watch the pre-recorded lecture. These can be available on LearnDot. When I say LearnDot, I mean this, learn.academy.com, you know? This is what I mean by LearnDot. You go to LearnDot, you have your bootcamp prep class, and you have all of your workshops. Everything will be posted here, okay? So watching the pre-recorded lecture the day before, like there is now posted a pre-recorded lecture for tomorrow's, okay? So the second thing that you are required to do is show up for lecture, okay? This is what I'm doing now, right? I'm giving you a lecture. You have to show up here, and that is required for your attendance to count. Another thing that is required for your attendance to count is that you come in, and after your lecture, we will be doing workshops with 1 or 2, depending on even odd numbers. 1 or 2 partners, you're going to be doing a workshop, you know? And I'll get into that a little bit later. And then another thing that is strongly recommended, but again, you don't need to do, is that there are workshop review videos, and there are also solutions to the problems for each workshop. And I really, really, really recommend that you go through the solutions and watch the solution videos. The solutions that are supplied to you might not be the same as the ones in the video. There are multiple ways to solve multiple problems, as you will soon find out, okay? However, these 4 things, the middle 2 are required, the top and the bottom thing aren't required, but I really recommend you do them, okay? Any questions so far? About anything I just said? Yeah?
How many lectures are you allowed to not attend?
Oh, yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. If you really need to, like, I really, really recommend you come in for every lecture. If you really need to skip out on the workshop, let me know prior, and it shouldn't be a problem, okay? but I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure, you have to ask admissions for that. Or I will find out and get back to you. That's okay? Yeah, I mean, if you can't come, like, it's cool. Like, don't stress out about it. Just let me know or let the other instructor know. Her name is Salamita. Just let either one of us know prior, and we'll deal with it, okay? So, now let's talk about the workshops. The workshops are going to be like a series of problems that you and your partner are going to have to solve. They are not intended to be finished, okay? Usually the workshops start out very, very simple, okay? And as you go through all of the questions, they get extremely difficult. If you can't finish the workshop, if you can't finish even the third problem, relax and don't freak out. They're not designed to be finished. They're designed to make you struggle. Because if you struggle through a hard problem with another person and bounce ideas off each other, that is how you learn the best, okay? And that is how this whole curriculum is designed, okay? So that's one thing important to keep in mind. They're not intended to be finished, okay? Your partner, you will be randomly paired with a random person in here, and you will have a different partner every single time, every day, okay? This mimics the actual boot camp. When you guys finish this, and you're all going to do amazing, you're all going to get in, you're all going to go through the boot camp, the actual boot camp does this, okay? So this mimics the actual thing. And then there are also instructors, me, and 2 fellows who are somewhere around the campus that are going to be available via the help desk. So as you see this blue question mark over here? Like on your Learn Dot, it's right here, right? You click it, and this thing opens, and then you type in, "Hi, I'm sitting at desk this number, and we need help with this question." If I'm helping another person, the help desk is going to also contact the fellows, and someone else will come and help you with your question, okay? So it's not like I'm here helping 30 people, okay? There's also going to be 2 or 3 other people, okay? So always put in your question in the help desk. It acts like a queue, all right? Any questions on that? You'll understand how all this works when I open up the workshop for today, okay? But this is just, remember to always do the help desk, you know? Okay, this one is just like, you know, add your picture to LearnDot. You don't really have to. I'm not going to tell you to add your picture if you don't want to do that. But it just helps people find you because obviously this is, what, like 3.5 weeks? I'm not going to learn everyone's name like that, you know? So it'll just help us find you when you have a question and we're coming over to help you, you know? And especially will help the fellows who have absolutely no idea who any of you are. So that only helps. But again, you don't have to if you're not comfortable doing that. Don't worry about it. So, pair programming, the workshops. We do pair programming. Pair programming is 2 programmers sharing the same computer, okay? You guys are going to share the same computer, and you're going to work together on all aspects of software development, okay? You're going to have 2 people, right? One person will be the driver, and the other person will be the navigator. So what the driver is doing is they're typing, right? They're typing whatever the navigator is telling them to type, right? So you're saying do this, do this, do this. Not line by line, letter by letter, but the navigator is the person that should be saying explicit instructions on how that you should be attacking the problem, right? And then the driver's responsibility is to translate that into code and put it on the page. And that's essentially what pair programming is, okay? And then after each problem, you should switch, you know? Like switch. Because really you learn by typing, right? So it's essential to get your chance to type on the keyboard, but it's also essential to be the one explaining. Because the way you actually really get better at code is explaining it, okay? Like you can be looking and reading at something, and you can be saying, okay, I understand this in my head. But explaining it to another person who doesn't know this stuff is like infinitely more difficult, okay? And that is how you get better, okay? So yeah, switch every 10 minutes or whenever you finish a problem. You and your partner can decide on that. You can also use your own computers if you're comfortable with that. Whatever. That's more of a you and your partner thing to work out, okay? At Full Stack, you switch partners for each workshop. So you will, like here, you'll have a different partner for each workshop. At Full Stack, you will also have a different partner for each workshop. Okay? So why are we using pair programming, right? Shouldn't you practice on your own? A lot of you might like the idea of doing this on your own, because if anyone's been to like college or high school, they know that group projects are like the worst thing, right? They're terrible. They're terrible things, right? But pair group programming is actually great. You're working with one other person, and the teach to learn is a central aspect of full stacks like philosophy, right? If you teach somebody something that you're not too sure about yourself, you both will grow together. Because if you're telling someone something that you think you understand, but you can't articulate that, then they're just going to keep asking you questions. Then you're going to say, oh, wait, maybe I really don't know what I'm talking about. And then you're going to have to go back and figure things out together, you know? So teach to learn is like a core philosophy here at Full Stack, okay? Communicating about code is also just as important, if not more important, than actually writing about it. So think about this. When you guys get jobs as developers, right? When you get jobs as engineers, you're not going to be making like a Google Translate level application by yourself. You will be working on a team, right? You'll be working on a team of developers. How can you ever be trusted by your team members if you can't properly articulate what you want to do in your application, what you want to contribute to the project, right? Communication is extremely, extremely important, okay? You have to be able to talk about what you're going to do before you actually do it, right? That makes complete sense if you're working on a group project, which all professional careers will eventually be. A team of engineers, right? You will be part of an engineering team. Does that make sense? Right? That's like logical, right? You got to talk about what you're doing, right? Solving problems with a partner is the best way to prepare for an admissions interview at a top boot camp. Most top boot camps and a growing number of employees use pair programming every day. When you guys interview for Full Stack, you will have to pair program with an interviewer. When you guys interview for jobs, you will have to pair program with multiple interviewers. It is very stressful and annoying, but you have to be good at it, okay? Being good at pair programming is easy. Usually, the person who's interviewing you, whether it be an admissions person from Full Stack or someone at a job, they want to just see how you think and how you work, okay? So it's best to talk through what you're doing instead of putting your head down and just typing and not listening to anything. Talk through what you're doing, bounce ideas off your interviewer, and that is how, and that is why pair programming is used for these processes, right? It's a good way to gauge how well somebody works well with other people, right? Does that make sense? Yes. Any questions on pair programming? Anything? We got time. Yeah? All right. Whatever. All right, now we're going to do an icebreaker. Do you guys like icebreakers? Yeah. No, icebreakers suck, but we're definitely going to do one. Okay? Definitely going to do one. So we're going to all stand up. No, not everyone. Only the person talking will stand up. And then we'll say your name, where you're from, why you're here, and if you want to, an interesting fact about yourself. Okay? So I will start. Okay? My name is Marco. I am from, if you haven't guessed it by my accent, Long Island. Why you're here, this is my job. And, well, this is my part-time job. And I collect records, and I used to be in plays in high school. Starting there.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I am from Miami, Florida. I'm here, so I work here at Full Stack. And after being here for 2 years, I finally want to know what it is that we teach. An interesting fact about myself is, born and raised in Miami, I love the water, I love water sports, but I don't know how to swim.
Yeah, I saw you. You're in the videos, the YouTube videos.
I probably am.
Hi, my name is Monja. I'm originally from Turkey, but I consider myself a blue knight. The reason why I'm here is I'm going to change market into engineering. An interesting fact about me is I have a twin sister.
Oh, nice.
My name is Shamir. I'm from Chechnya, it's south of Russia. I'm here to work hard.
Nice.
I'm Nick. I live in Brooklyn. I grew up in New Jersey. I'm here because I worked in television and film for like 6 years and it drove me insane. So I'm going to try this out instead. And an interesting fact about me, I guess going back to what I used to do, I used to work for 50 Cent. It's kind of weird. But that's
This is gonna drive you insane too, man.
I like it a lot.
This is a little water park.
Different type of crazy.
It's a different type of crazy.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia. I live in Brooklyn, but I'm from Boston. Why I'm here? No, sorry. I wanted to see if I'd get any good at coding. I tried it in college and I decided I wanted to social life at the time, so. But I liked it. It just took a while, so. Interesting fact about myself, I can sound like a trumpet.
Do it.
No way. Yo, that was so cool. Nice.
Hi, my name's Kathy. I'm from Long Island. Why I'm here, I want to switch careers from hospitality to this. And interesting fact, I love to travel.
My name is David. I'm from Queens. I'm here because I think coding is the future. And an interesting fact about me is I forgot to bring a laptop charger.
The bar line engineer.
I'm not a bar person.
Oh, okay.
Hi guys, my name is Anton and I'm from Albania and I work as a IT. I would like to do programming now. Interesting fact is, I don't know, I have a computer science degree and I would like to.
Hey, I'm Dara. I'm from upstate New York, and I'm here to learn how to code, and also for a career change. An interesting fact, I love to ski. On the weekends, I teach skiing.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Charles. Born and raised in Queens. The reason I'm here, I'm also doing a career change. Currently, I'm a private client banker, and I work in coding.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Takwa. I live in Astoria, but I'm originally from Taiwan. I'm here because I want to learn how to code. I have a little bit of background in MATLAB, but not really in JavaScript. An interesting fact about myself is I'm a musician and a sound engineer.
Cool.
Hi guys, I'm Irene. I live in the Upper West Side. I grew up in Long Island. I'm a fashion editor, but I'm trying to do a career change and learn coding. And an interesting fact, I live in Boston.
Nice.
Yes,
Yes.
hello, my name is Kleber Perez. I am from South America, Ecuador. My job is script. And it's not much interesting. Other than that, just playing chess.
Nice.
Thank you.
My name is Ryan. I'm from Long Island. Work at a company called Acme Smoked Fish. My background's in mechanical engineering. Not really doing mechanical engineering there, but along those lines. And I'm looking to make a career change into software.
Cool.
My name is Joe. I'm from Central Jersey. I actually live a 5-minute walk from here, though, which is nice. I'm here because I want to switch my careers from computer forensics to software developing. interesting fact, I used to work for the government, and I would investigate like several homicide cases, and I would go through people's like phones and computers and stuff for evidence. So interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm Doug. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but now I live in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm currently here because I want to change careers from financial services over to software programming. And interesting fact about myself, I really like to snowboard, and I also really like to build furniture.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Etta. I am born and raised in New York, live in Queens. As all of you are here, I'm here to learn how to count and hopefully change my career. Interesting fact about me is that I hate these icebreakers so much that at my last job I had to share a fun fact. I blurted out I like to give birth.
Nice.
My name is Jen. I'm from Jersey, and I'm here to learn a new skill. Interesting fact about myself, I went to Iceland recently.
Cool.
Hi, my name is Janet. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, but currently live in Brooklyn. I'm here because I actually recently got laid off from my job, so I decided to do a little career change. And an interesting fact about myself is I have a dog named Kayla.
Hey everyone, my name's Rob. I'm from Virginia. Originally I lived in New York for the last 4 years. But I'm taking a career change as well. I've worked as a journalist for the last few years, and it's not really a great time to be a journalist. So thinking about picking up a new skill on the side, maybe want to go back to journalism and work on the development side. And an interesting fact, my birthday is on July 11th, 7/11, so every year I use 11, get a big Slurpee on my birthday.
Hi, my name is Jackson. I'm from Taiwan. The reason I'm here is I heard like foreigners make a lot of money, so I'm here. And things respect about myself is I was born in Taiwan, but I was raised in Indonesia, and I studied college in China, and I came to the United States in 2012.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Jess. I grew up in Jersey, live in Upper West Side right now. I work for a trade coffee subscription. And career change, went from customer service to product within the company I'm at right now. And interesting fact is I worked as a manager of a DJ school in Mexico City without any knowledge of how to DJ.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Jelani. Born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm here for a career change. I currently work for the DOE, Department of Education. One of my family members actually went through the process and told me I should do it. Fun fact, I have 10 siblings.
Oh, damn.
Hello, my name is Marco. I currently reside in Queens. I recently quit my job to attend the boot camp prep, and I was working at Muji at Senior Arts. Fun fact about myself: I used to work on a farm in Florida for about 4 years.
That's pretty cool. Nice.
How you doing? My name is Jean Richard. I'm Ricky. Born in Port-au-Prince, raised in Flatbush. Currently live on the North Shore Island. I'm here to elevate my game. And fun fact, I also engineer and I own a studio in Atlanta.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Bianca. I am from Italy originally, moved from LA, been here for about 4 months. I was in music production, originally film production, and then I just want more stability, but I want to incorporate coding into music somehow. So, and I love the East Coast. I want to come anyway, so it's great. It seems to be here. So I guess that's an interesting fact.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Anastasia, and I live in Jersey City, New Jersey, but originally I'm from Russia. Why I'm here? all of above to make a lot of money, to study, and interesting fact, I don't want to even want to start. I have so many hobbies, so many things that I like. So, and he's my friend.
Oh, nice.
Hi, my name is Timur. I live in New Jersey, Harrison, but originally I'm from Russia. So, while I'm here, I'd like to know more about how to code. And also, my wife graduated race hopper
Oh, cool.
in the previous year, so that's why I'm here.
Nice.
Interesting fact about me. I really like to work out and judo. I won a tournament in Russia, in my city.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, jeez. This guy's dangerous. Yeah, see, that wasn't so bad, right? You guys are going to be working very closely together, okay? So it's important to get to know each other, right? Yeah, I mean, programming is a great field to get into. You know, it's growing. America is a great place to be a programmer because they pay like 5 times as much as any other country, so that's really cool too. So yeah, if you stick with it, who knows? Who knows? Okay, so back to the course, okay? So there's going to be 2 projects that are completely optional. You don't have to do them, and I don't care if you do. Just kidding. I really recommend you do them. However, you really don't have to do them. They're completely optional. But it's a good opportunity to use what we're learning to build more complex problems, okay? They'll be made available to you through LearnDot when it's time. But I really recommend if you have the time to do them. And if you don't have the time to do them, don't stress out about doing them. When you're done with bootcamp prep, do them then, because then you'll have more time, right? But definitely try and do it, okay? Any questions on that? Oh yeah, when, let's say you do it, during the class or after the class, whenever, you can hit me up on Slack always. How you submit them is just send me your REPL, I'll go into what that is later, your REPL or your file of where you did the problem, and I will write some comments on it and send it back to you and tell you what I think, all right? Any questions? So, practice assessments. On the last day of class, you will take a practice assessment, okay? And then after that, you will have access to another practice assessment. There's 2, all right? 2 practice assessments. The first practice assessment that is taken in class counts for nothing, okay? If you do well, if you do bad, Full Stack is not going to look at your work at all. It's just for you. The reason why we offer that is because the assessment is going to be taken in a different environment than what you will be doing your workshops in, okay? It's on this website called HackerRank, all right? And people aren't going to be used to that. They're not going to be used to working under a time limit. I think it's like 75-minute time limit. And it's just different, you know? And it's more problems to practice. So it's used so you can gauge yourself where you need to study on before you take the second practice assessment. Because the second practice assessment, if you do really well on it, you automatically advance to the second round of interviewing for Full Stack, okay? If you do bad on the second practice assessment, nobody cares. It's fine. You get a free pass, okay? If you do bad on that, then you would have to apply to Full Stack like somebody who is not going through bootcamp prep. Like me, I didn't go through bootcamp prep. So you just apply online and you take the test, and it's pretty much the same format as the first 2 practice assessments you did. The second round of interview will be in an online coding challenge, like 3 questions, but you'll be talking to and pair programming with the interviewer, okay? This is like a lot to take in right now, and if you don't have any immediate questions on this, it's fine. You can ask me about the process every day for the rest of your lives. It's fine, okay? So if you can't think of anything right now, just whatever, it's fine. So obviously we have some Full Stack community values, okay? Be patient with yourself and with others, okay? I'm just gonna say this once. All of you, obviously, come from different places and come from different backgrounds. Some of you might have taken some CS classes in college. Some of you might have been CS majored in college. Some of you might have opened a computer for the first time in your lives last week, you know? Everybody's coming from different places. So you have to be patient, okay? If this is completely new for you, be patient with yourself and don't stress out. It's very easy to get frustrated, okay, when you're doing stuff like this. Because computer science, how I learned, I didn't have any experience before full stack, right? I thought this was just like, I didn't even know what was going on. I still kind of don't know what's going on, but it's fine, you know? Just, you have to learn to be patient with yourself. And you also have to learn to be patient with other people. If you can't be patient with other people, this might not be the best place for you, okay? Ask questions, even dumb ones, okay? Just ask. Yell at me during lecture, whatever, you know? Slack me after, whatever. Trust the process and be on time. I'm gonna start at like 6:40 every day. I don't know what Solomita's gonna do, but I'm gonna start at 6:40 every day. If you could be here at 6:40, that's cool. I don't really care if you walk in like late. Like that doesn't bother me, you know? But for your best benefit, I would come here on time. Help others and teach others. And we like to have fun. And be mindful of subtle isms, okay? You know, sexism, racism, ageism, be professional. We have a no asshole policy. So, you know, be like completely normal adults, okay? Be like a good person, you know? None of that other stuff. Because then you just won't be allowed to come, okay? You guys are fine, relax. You are each other's most valuable research and no non-suitable for work content, whatever, okay? Classic stuff. Just be mindful of everyone else. Some things that you might think are appropriate are definitely not going to be appropriate for everyone else, okay? Okay, so any questions on anything I just said about the actual curriculum and process of getting into full stack? That you could think of. If you can't think of it, it's fine. Don't freak out, you know? Yeah.
It's not a question, but could you walk through the actual application process?
What do you mean?
Like what the interview looks like and
So like, I won't talk about the first practice assessment because that's neither here nor there. You know, it's for you or no one's going to look at it. The second one, if you take it and you do well, you'll get an email from Full Stack and they'll be like, nice, here's the second. Like, and these practice assessments will probably be like 5 questions, okay? 75 minutes, 5 questions, right? That you have to answer. Then you'll get an email from Full Stack and they'll be like, hey, we like this. Here's your invitation to our second round, right? And then that will be probably like, I don't know if it's changed, but for me, it was like 3 questions and it'll be like on Google Hangouts or something, you know, like face-to-face with a person. And they'll be asking you like, hey, why do you want to come here? That will also be a little bit of behavioral, you know, they'll ask you like what you're doing. They'll be gauging to see if you're a good fit. You know what I mean? So also, but then they're also going to ask you like 3 questions, right? And you'll have to like program them, and you can use them as a resource, right? If you don't know something, ask, you know? Then if you do all well on that, you'll get like your acceptance letter. And I think, I don't know, since I'm not a woman and I can't apply to Grace Hopper, I don't really know how that, I don't know, there's somewhere you can say like your preferred cohort, and then you can like say like, yeah, I want to do Grace Hopper over Full Stack. So that's, if you have more questions about that, definitely ask admissions, I think. Or I can just ask and finally learn, because I'm sick of telling people that I don't know how that works. But yeah. Yeah, if you don't do well on the second practice assessment, like I said, you could still, on your own time, apply to Full Stack whenever you want, you know? And then if you don't do well on that, and then the process is the same. But if you don't do well on that one, you have to wait a little while. I think they won't let you apply again. Don't worry about that, though. You'll all be fine. But yeah, is that okay? Any other questions on that? Yeah.
Is there a time between?
So the second practice assessment is open right after we're done. Like, right? You walk out of the room, never come back here until you actually get in, and the second practice assessment is open for you. You do have to do that in like 7 days or something like that. That one you do have to do in 7 days. Even if you feel like you're not ready for that, you should still do it anyway, because if you do badly, no one cares, and it's just good practice because it's different questions, okay? Yeah.
Can you apply right after this and then take the actual boot camp in, say, June or
Oh, I don't know. On the full stack website, there's like deadlines for applications, and they tell you like what cohort, like when it starts, the deadline for that application would be. So that there you'll find information on that. Yeah.
What's the passing?
Huh?
Is there like a score on the assessment test? What's the passing?
So like, you'll get a better sense of this when we do like workshops and stuff. But there's going to be certain test specs that some will be visible to you, some won't be visible to you. But they'll basically be trying your answers with all these different like inputs, and you'll pass if you get them all right on every question. However, there's also a chance that, let's say, out of 5 questions, you got 3 completely right, and then 2 you got like 75% of them right. You know, like you missed some edge cases, or you got 1 completely wrong because you had like an extra curly brace somewhere where it shouldn't be, so your code just didn't run. Full stack will still read each line and see like, hey, like this person obviously knows what they're doing, it's still a syntax error, or oh, this is a hard one to get, it's fine. So like there's also partial credit, okay? But you yourself will be able to see like if you got it correct or not, you know?
Is it graded by the machine?
The test?
Yeah.
I don't know who grades them.
Or is it like person?
Well, I think they, I don't know what they do. I don't know the grading process. Yeah.
For these tests, like a lot of, as I've been learning and teaching myself, like I'm always going into that Mozilla website and like looking up
MDM?
how to, and
Yeah,
looking up
MDM.
how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Are you able to access that while you're taking the test, or do you have to just go?
No. So the test is designed. You won't really, in my opinion, you won't need it.
Okay.
Because everything you learn here, like that's all you'll really need for the tests. But the HackerRank thing it's like a full screen kind of deal. And if you close that full screen, full stack's just going to think you're cheating.
Okay.
Which is just necessary for things like that. I mean, it's not like that hard where you will need to like go like do your own research on how to do this complex algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are some some things you will never have to remember, and you can always look up. But some things you should remember to just be good at programming. So I wouldn't worry about that. Any other questions before we get started? Cool. So why JavaScript? So JavaScript is the most popular language in the world. So says Stack Overflow in 2018. And the full stack and Grace Hopper curriculum teaches JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and SQL. Loosely SQL. Ruby is also great for beginners, but it's much less widely used. You know, JavaScript is used on pretty much every browser. Okay. So JavaScript is very popular, and then there's this thing called Node, which lets you use You'll learn about Node in the bootcamp. Don't worry about it. I'm just giving you some background context. Node lets you run JavaScript in the backend for servers and for databases. Okay. So JavaScript is now being more widely used on the full stack, which is what you will be learning at full stack. Okay. So yeah, have you heard of this thing called the internet? JavaScript is like everything. Okay. Powers the majority of web applications. There's Atwood's law that says anything that can be written in JavaScript will eventually be written in JavaScript. Runs almost anywhere on the full stack, browsers and servers. First 7 out of 10s of JavaScript are relatively learner friendly. So it's, that's why we teach it here at full stack. Learner friendly, good for beginners, very, very widely used. Okay? So, full stack is going to teach this thing called ES Next. What is ES Next? It's really ES6. What is ES6? What is ES5? What is this, right? This is just different versions of JavaScript that are made available to you, okay? So, like, function is a keyword in JavaScript that you use when you're defining a function. However, in ES6, they introduced this new way to write a function, which is an open and closed parenthesis and equal sign greater than sign, which what we call in programming a fat arrow, and then an open curly brace or closed curly brace. This is also how you can define a function. It's just different syntax that you can use. JavaScript versions are backwards compatible, so you can use older features in the newer environment. It's fine, you know? But newer features may not always work on older environments, which is something to keep in mind, okay? Full stack teaches ES6, so you will be just learning the new stuff, okay? But I just need you all to be aware that there are different versions of JavaScript. It's not just like one thing. Things keep changing, okay? Immersive programs continuously update here to incorporate the latest JavaScript features, and BCP program covers some new features too, but only those that are helpful for beginning developers. We don't really go into depth on new JavaScript features unless we think that it's useful for you, okay? So this is more of like, listen, this thing exists. I will be teaching you some ES6 that I think is like useful, okay? If I don't think it's useful, I won't bring it up. If you ask me a question, hey, I read about this, what is this, I'll say, talk to me later, you know? Because it's not really relevant to the rest of the class, right? However, if you do have in-depth questions, you can always come and ask me privately or Slack me or ask them in class, and I'll tell you, we can talk about it later, okay? Any questions? This is more of a for your information kind of thing, okay? So, getting the most from this course, you complete the bootcamp prep pre-work curriculum first. I hope you did that. If you didn't, go back and do that. Anyways, do the pre-readings and watch the pre-recorded lectures. This is optional. But if you want to get the most out of the course, you will find the time to do this. If you have a full-time job, watch it on the train, watch it during lunch, whatever, you know? You can find the time, okay? Enjoy the productive struggle. This is going to be hard and you're all going to be really frustrated, but try to enjoy it, you know? You're facing a difficult task that can completely alter your life in a really big way, right? It's exciting. This is an exciting big step that some of you might be taking, okay? Ask for help when you need it. Ask your partner, ask the pair behind you, the pair across the room, yell at me, scream for a fellow, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Ask when you are in need. There's no use, if you just hit a brick wall, you can't just bang your head against it until it breaks, you know? So don't look at this, so after like a class, right, like 9:40 is when the class ends, technically. I will post the solutions for the workshop. Don't look at the solutions until you've really given one question like a really good try, like an honest try, okay? Because that's just not beneficial to you. To not even attempt a question and to just look at answers, right? I'm sure you've heard of this going through public education, right? Like teachers yelling at you to do this. But this is serious. Like this isn't like social studies in 9th grade, you know? Like this is, you want to learn it or you don't, okay? So don't try to take any easy routes. Really struggle with it, and only then, once you really think you can't get it, look at the solution, okay?
But can you Google?
Huh?
Can you Google while trying to resolve the problem?
Well, don't like Google like the actual problem, right?
No, like for help.
Yeah. You could use Google for help, but I'm saying like don't look at the solutions I post before you actually try a problem, because then what's the point, you know? But when you do try the problem and you can't get it, don't like wait like 3 days, like I haven't tried hard enough yet. Like no, if it's fine, just look at the solution. It's probably easier than you thought. Go through it over and over again. Then once you see the solution, close the tab and then try it again. All right, with a new mindset. Okay. Go back to unfinished workshop problems and finish them when you have time. This is very important as well. Okay, like I said before, workshops aren't meant to be finished. Okay, so later on, when you have some time, like on a weekend or something, go back to the ones that you didn't do, or go back to the one that you thought your partner got really well, but you still have some trouble with. Go back and do those again yourself. You'll have the solutions with you if you get stuck, but it's just good practice, okay? Watch the solution videos even for problems you think you got right. Why if you got them right? Because the person who's doing the solution videos might have done it in a different way, okay? And that's important to understand. There's multiple ways to solve these problems, okay? So watch the solution videos. And review the solution code. Any questions on how to get the best out of this class? No? Okay. So now we're going to start tidy code, all right? Now we're going to be talking about some code real quick, okay? So why write tidy code? What does that even mean? Easier and faster to debug and read your code. Engineers spend a lot more time reading and debugging code than actually writing it, okay? This is true. This is very, very true. If all of our code was in one single line, that is ridiculous, right? So there's a certain way, a certain format and indentation and new line rules that we've developed as programmers to help us read things more clearly. Because when you're programming, a simple like extra parenthesis will just break your application, okay? That is a fact. So tiny mistakes like that can cause big problems, so it's important to write your code in a certain way, a certain format that's visible to everyone else, so that we can try and see what the problem is, right? And it also demonstrates qualities attractive to bootcamps and employers. It's professional, right? Like you wouldn't apply to be an editor and then just never use periods. Why would you do that? You know? Attention to detail and pride in your work. It's just like it's a nice way to write things, okay? But it's important. What I'm saying over here with the debugging code, that's very important, right? If you have messy code, it becomes almost impossible to read. How can you ever fix it if it's broken, right? So we'll talk about indentation. I told you this is easy today, okay? Indentation. So indent one level inside of every code block. And a code block starts with an open curly brace and ends with a closed curly brace. Easy to remember, right? So you have this function. So you have this function called amazing function, right? Also, anything with 2 slashes is a comment, won't be read, okay? Won't be read by the compiler, okay? So these are all comments. So you have a function, you define it with the function keyword, you give its name, amazing function, open close parenthesis, and then you see an open curly brace. That means you are entering a code block. All functions have their own code blocks. So on the next line, 1 tab. 1 tab, okay? And then we have an if statement, right? If, open paren, some value, close open paren, open curly brace. If statements are conditional expressions, okay? This conditional statement also has a code block. Conditional statements also have their own code blocks. So we have another open thing, and then everything inside of here, inside the if block, is tabbed over 1 more space from where the if starts, okay? If goes down, tab over 1, okay? This looks like it's a space over, but tab over, okay? Then, when you're done with this if statement and you want to close the if block, the closing parenthesis goes in line with where the if is, right? Where it starts. This should always be in line. Everything inside of it, 1 tab over. Then once we're done here, we're outside of the if block, we see another curly brace. This is closing the function definition, right? So this should be in line with the function. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Then over here, we are invoking our function. We are calling our function. We are running our function. Invoking is running, okay? We call the function to run it. We invoke it. So we invoke amazing function. And we get the function is amazing in the top right? That is our terminal. We run this function. If true, true is true. So we say console.log, this function is amazing.
Is it console.log written?
Console.log you can think of as a function that is available to you at all times. Console.log, you write and then you open close a parenthesis, right? So, right? Like this, right? And you put a string. And you run it, and you get this in the terminal. Console.log, you could think of a function. Anything you pass into the parentheses will simply be printed for a person to read in the console. The value isn't stored anywhere, it is just printed for you to read in the console. Console.log, you will learn tomorrow, is very useful for debugging things, okay? Also, now that we're on the subject, this is REPL, okay? I love REPL. I use REPL all the time if I'm messing around with code and I'm trying to figure out something, right? So you go to REPL, REPL.IT. You go there. Then you simply, you don't have to make an account or anything, and then you just do new REPL. you pick your language, JavaScript. You say test REPL, create REPL, REPL created. Close this on the left. You have this, and you could run this is real JavaScript. It's real, guys. I'm just kidding. It's not real. It's broken. But yeah, you can run real JavaScript, right? Console.log. This is real, right? Let example equal false. Console.log example, right? It's slow right now. It's right? This is real, this is false. Real will be faster for you. But you write whatever you want on it over here. You press run, and then you see the output over there. Very useful for debugging problems that you guys are doing, okay? You don't have to use this though. It's just what I'm recommending.
What's equivalent to REPL?
What do you mean?
Other.
Oh, well, you can use CodePen, which is what?
It's more like CodePen, because I know there's VS Code is more like Sublime.
Yeah, VS Code and Sublime are text editors, more used for making applications. But CodePen is an online editor with its own terminal, and so is this. CodePen is what you guys will be using to do all the workshops. So you might like that better, you might like REPL better. I don't know. I hate CodePen. I like this. You might hate this. You might like CodePen. Personal preference. Just saying. So, anyways. Nope. So anyways, any questions on indentation? Once you see the curly brace, everything inside of it is tabbed one over. You see another one inside of that curly brace, that means it's another block. So you got to tab one more time over, okay? Yeah. It happens automatically on REPL.
Not all.
I don't know if it happens automatically on CodePen.
Wait, what? Sorry.
Like on REPL, if I wanted to write this function, amazing function, right? If I wanted to write function, I just press one open and it completes it for me, right? If I press one open curly brace, it completes it for me. If I press enter once, it's automatically tabbed over one, you see? So this does it for you automatically. Okay. So yeah, I mean, some things will do it for you. Most things will, but if it doesn't, you have to do it yourself. Okay, and you have to be aware of why this is typed. Okay, why this is needed. Indentation is important. Okay. Good observation. Any other questions? Okay. So I think this is the last thing we're going to talk about before we break out into groups. Variable naming. Now, this sounds really dumb and pointless. However, it's actually really important and also surprisingly extremely difficult. Okay. So one thing you have to keep in mind is that variable naming uses something called camel case in JavaScript. Okay. This is just standard across the field, okay? Camel case for when you're naming things in JavaScript. By camel case, you say let my favorite place equals a string full stack, right? So the variable is my favorite place. But my favorite place in the English language is 3 words. So you take those 3 words, the first word is lowercase, then you capitalize the first letter of each other word, okay? What happens if I didn't do this? Do you think that this would no longer be equal to full stack? No, it wouldn't. It's the same thing. It doesn't really matter. However, the whole point of variable names are for you or for your peers to read what these variables actually are, you know? You do want to humanize your variable names because they aren't for computers. Computers aren't looking at the variable name. They're looking at the variable value, taking that value and doing things with it, right? That's why you give variable names human-sounding things. Alright. Any questions? I know this is really boring, but just bear with me. Don't use ambiguous variable names, like let x equal 68. Use names that describe the value they contain, like current temp, current temperature, 68. Okay? If you have, let's say if you have you're writing a function that's solving some problem for your company and it's like 100 lines, and you have like 30 variable names, and it's all letters of the alphabet and then some numbers. Why would you do that? You know? Doesn't make any sense when you read it, you know? You don't even want, that will confuse yourself as well if you come back and you have to work on that problem again the next day, you know? It's common practice to use variable names that are describing what their values represent, okay? Just remember that. But I said it's hard to name things, okay? It's always hard to name things, okay? And it's okay to use short variable names as counters like an I in a for loop. And we'll learn about for loops tomorrow, okay? But like when you're using variables for things that, like a counter or an incrementer, like a result or something, you can use whatever you want because, like this, right? So this is basically what a for loop looks like. You see the curly brace over here, so you know that everything over here will be indented one space because, yes, loops are also in code blocks, right? Then you have inside, this is just a definition of a for loop, which you will learn tomorrow. Don't think too hard about it right now. But we have let I equal 1. Why I? I is like a magic number. It's not real, but it's very commonly used, okay? You could think of it as iterator, okay? Because you're using it to iterate over things, or an incrementer, it's being incremented, okay? So when we set I equal to 1, I is less than or equal to 3, I plus plus, okay? So what we're saying is, we're defining a variable I, we're setting it equal to 1, we will loop through this code block until I is less than or equal to 3 is no longer true, and at the end of each iteration, we will say I plus plus. I plus plus is I plus equals 1, which is I is now equal to I plus 1, okay? I plus plus is not the same thing as I plus equals 1. But it kind of does the same thing. Okay, there's a small hidden difference that I won't get into now. But I plus plus. So what we're saying is loops can go on forever, so we have to change the value of this I and tell the loop to stop at a certain point. Does that make sense? And then as you can see, we console.log I, in the terminal, we get 1, 2, 3. I changes, because we increment it here. We add 1 to it. Plus plus is plus equals 1, right? But not really. But it is, but it's not. So I plus plus, we get 1, 2, 3. Then, once I is 3, we actually change I, right? I is now 4. But since we have this rule here, I is less than or equal to 3, 4 is not less than or equal to 3. 4 is greater than 3. So we don't run this line anymore, and we break out of the code block, and that's pretty much how for loops work. Don't think too hard about this right now. You will have the entire day of class tomorrow to do that, okay? Struggle with it and cry about it, okay? Any questions about naming things, though? Seriously. Yeah, that's it. So, you guys are going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to post in the Slack channel your groups, your pairs. However, I'm also going to post this link to this website. This is on Solomita's GitHub, okay? And we're going to be posting all of our things over here, okay? So I'll give you this link, and then you could go down here. You'll see like the workshop for tidy code, full notes, indenting, and variables. You click on it, and you get this file, and you could read through it, you know, whatever you want to do. And we'll also be posting the lecture videos here, okay? There'll be links or whatever. I'll put this in the Slack channel, and I'll pin it. I'll do that right now. I'll show you guys, like right. Where's Slack? right? Here's Slack. I'll put it in here. And I can pin this somehow. Pin to channel. Boom, right? So now, if you want to access this, because this will just keep going down and down, right? If you want to access this, you go up here and you see this pin, view pinned items, and you get it right here. And it's there for you guys forever. And that thing will all keep getting updated, okay? And usually, like today is easy, right? So, as you can see, I didn't really write anything in this repo. Usually I will be teaching through this repo. I don't know how Solomita does it, but I'm pretty sure she will too. So usually we'll be live coding and showing you results on this side and coding on this side, live coding for you guys so we can all understand together. Right? At the end of the class, I will not only be posting the video, but I'll also give you the link to this, okay? In that GitHub, okay? Any questions on that? Take a 5-minute break and come back here. Yeah, what's up?
Well, I can't see the pin.
Yeah, same thing as my side. Like, yeah, but what's the name of the
It
channel
says,
again?
I just have general.
We just have the general
Yes,
channel.
You're not in 2002 FSA NY BCP MO? Check your emails, check your spam folder. You should have been invited somewhere. You'll get access to the Slack channel.
Okay, good.